All right, so we're gonna run through a quick sequence of stretches. This is basically what I do nightly. Fitting them in any time of day is great, as long as you're doing them daily or close to it, but doing it at night is definitely the most effective, really helps sleep quality. So I'm just gonna start running through these. I'll kind of explain what I'm doing along the way. The key thing is each of these poses I'm just gonna do for a few moments so you get the gist of it, but doing these, each pose for 1 to 3 minutes is crucial for those half-hour stretch workouts that you'll see in Training Peaks. So I like to start with the hamstrings. Basically having a soft, surface to lie on. Carpet works great, or a yoga mat, something like it. Even just a blanket's fine. And then a chair can really be helpful. So we'll start with the hamstrings, facing the chair or something elevated, anywhere from 6 inches high to a couple of feet's just fine. And making sure both feet are facing straight ahead. We're going to start with the right leg and just place it here. A little bit of dorsal flexion of the foot. And really, we're not doing any of this reaching or anything like that. All we're doing is tilting that pelvis, having anterior pelvic tilt till you feel that in the hamstring. Making sure you're breathing, and we're going to hold this for 1 minute to 3 minutes, depending. So you would just hold it. And then if you suffer from tight IT bands, you can also twist that pelvis, not your shoulders, but your pelvis towards that leg to get a little bit of stretch on the IT band there. So we would do that again for 1 to 3 minutes, and then move on to the other leg. Again, both feet facing straight ahead. Slide them out of dorsiflexion, rotating that pelvis forward till you feel the stretch. Really, I don't care how low the shoulders get. I care about that sacral angle. So we're rotating forward till we feel the stretch, holding for a minute or so. And then if you want to twist and get a bit of that IT, you can do that as well. So from there, that would take 2 to 5 minutes. I like to get the calves. If you're like me, I suffer from really tight calves. So doing it's a little bit like downward dog, except I'm using the chair, so it's a little less strain on the calves. So kind of facing the chair, putting your hands on it. Again, neutral spine, I don't want any of this. And then just bringing these guys back and just really dropping that down, straightening the leg, locking out the knee, and you'll get a really nice stretch on that left side. Also making sure you're breathing, it's huge. So you'd hold that for 1 minute, up to 3, depending on how tight it is or how much you want to work on it. And then you'd switch to the other side. For me, my calves can be really tender, so on really tight days after a hard ride, or if I've been bad about keeping up on my stretches, I will switch off every 10 seconds or so until they get a little looser. But, kind of the main way to do it is just to do a minute at a time. So after that, I'll do a couple of just forward bends, just toe touches, hold it for a few seconds. And breathe. That way we're kind of stretching both of the main groups that we just worked on together. So we're going to continue on. Kind of, again, on the posterior chain, I'm going to work on the glutes now. This one's really simple. Lying down. We're going to do the left leg first. Right leg's extended. You're crossing over with the left foot, and you're just bringing that knee up against your chest. Opening up. And you want to hold this again for about a minute. And we're going to kind of come back to this area in another stretch later on. So it's okay if this doesn't feel that intense. Just a minute's fine on this one. And then you grab the other side as well. Okay. So from here, I'm going to get a little bit more into hip mobility. So this is where the chair comes in real handy. So we'll start with bringing the left leg up on it, foot down. You're going to drop that knee down on the ground. Now this chair is going to be a little high for some folks. So if your couch is a little lower, or if you have an ottoman, or even just a few books, that'll work good. Milk crate with a pillow on top is also fine. What I'm doing here is I'm pulling my pelvis forward, and I'm getting a really good stretch of my right hip flexors, TFL, those guys, a little bit of the quad as well. There's a little bit of hamstring and sartorius stretch in there too, so you hold this for about a minute. Always breathing. And then from here, the progression would be to a bit like pigeon pose. If you're familiar with that yoga pose, you're, instead of having the foot flat, you're kind of lying on the side of the shin here. And this is really targeting the glute and the hamstring. This is huge for hip mobility if you suffer from some restriction in that area. And again, this one's pretty intense, so make sure you're breathing. This one, personally, I like to hold for, you know, the full 2 or 3 minutes. And again, this is a very intense stretch. There's a lot going on here. This is also an area that commonly has a lot of dysfunction for a lot of folks. So if you're ever feeling anything that's barking at you or something that's pain beyond just stretching, just shut it down and let your coach know. We'll figure out a way to get around it. So we'll go ahead and switch to the other side so I can show you another view of that. And again, my right leg is much tighter than my left, so I'm having a little hard time. This is a little bit high. Again, hold that for about a minute or so. And then lay that side of the leg down. Great. So the last thing to tackle is the quads. Obviously the quads get really, really sore. They're a pretty hard area to really target effectively. So I'm going to show you a move you've probably done before, but there's a little extra added step that really makes it a great effective stretch. So we've all done this at one point after a run or a jog. So we're going to kind of do the same thing. Again, finding the chair is really useful just for balance, especially if you're tired after a long day. So we'll start with the right leg. We're going to pull that foot up against the butt and stand nice and straight. And the key to really get a deep stretch of the quadriceps is by flexing the glute of the leg you're stretching. So in this case, the right side. So I'm going to flex my right glute as hard as I can. And what that does is it loads up my femur here and puts a way deeper stretch on that quad. So you kind of pull hard, flex that glute, and really want to hold this one for at least 1.5 minutes, up to 3 minutes. And if it feels really intense, you can kind of contract and relax and work your way into it. And just let your coach how this is going. Then I'll do the other side so you can kind of see how that looks. So that's the progression that I run through nightly. If you're doing it right and doing 1 to 3 minutes, it'll take anywhere from 10 to a half hour. And yeah, just let me know how it goes, and thanks a lot.